On April 15th, 1947, Jackie Robinson officially entered the MLB and broke the color barrier for the first time in the sport's history. Although Jackie Robinson had a very successful 10-year career, he was constantly faced by criticism and heckling from those in the crowd. Although he was one of the best players in the sport, it was tough for him to gain the respect from the white folks that were still watching the game. Jackie Robinson spent his major league career with the Brooklyn Dodgers, who are now the Los Angeles Dodgers, and his consistent numbers that he put up throughout his career allowed him to be not only one of the best baseball players for his time, but also one of the best baseball players ever. On April 15th every year, the MLB pays its respect to Jackie Robinson as each player in the league wears the number 42, and the constant reminders of Jackie Robinson's legacy are all across the sport, regardless of city, stadium, or team affiliation. In 2025, this day had a bit more meaning and a bit more importance than any other year. In 2025, the Defense Department removed a link for Jackie Robinson on a page that they dedicated to athletes that served in the military. This page was removed because of a request by Donald Trump to remove DEI within the government and government agencies. After facing massive backlash from popular figures within the baseball community, the Defense Department claimed that the link was taken down by accident and it was not on purpose. This is tough to believe when the link was down and the page had DEI written on it as it was taken down. And considering what the administration has done throughout its tenure, it is hard to believe that this was an accident. Jeff Passan is one of the most reputable and most respected sources in all of baseball media, and he was one of the main people that criticized the Defense Department's removal of this link when it happened, and he took to Twitter as well as on some podcasts to voice his opinions on the matter.
What I love about Jackie Robinson Day is that for a sport that is so steeped in its history, it honors the most important thing that has happened. And anyone who suggests that Jackie Robinson's breaking the color barrier is not the seminal moment in Major League Baseball history, let alone like the seminal moment in American professional sports, just doesn't understand what it means. And we look at this through the lens of baseball because that's what we do all the time, because that's how we operate. But Jackie Robinson debuting for the Dodgers was not something that was limited to baseball. This is American history and an important part of American history. And I think it really opened a lot of people's eyes in a vital time in United States history, that equality and giving Black people what everybody else has in America is something that was long, long overdue and a great tragedy of America. And the fact that baseball was able to play that role, to be a conduit, to open America's eyes, I think is one of the reasons that the game is still to this day so important to people in the United States, because football doesn't have a moment like that. Basketball doesn't have a moment like that. Hockey doesn't have a moment like that. Like the closest things that I can think of are the Olympics, whether it's Jesse Owens running or in 1968. Chris, we're not far removed from people trying to negate what Jackie Robinson did, from people in our government trying to erase what Jackie Robinson did. And they can say that it was a mistake, and you can believe them or not. But the reality is you shouldn't even be in a position to make mistakes with something as important as this. That's the sort of thing, that's the kind of history we should be looking to protect and to project and to educate everyone on, that this was a brave man and the right man at the right time to bring America into a more modern place.
Yeah. Whether you are a massive baseball fan and understand the deep-rooted history of the sport, or you are a casual fan that just follows along the storylines, I think it's really important to understand the context that Jackie Robinson arrived in and to understand the definition of DEI before making claims that Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire. Another well-known person in sports media, Nick Wright, took to his podcast to explain DEI to the people that may not understand and relate it back to Jackie Robinson.
That's how the bad actors win, is by reframing definitions. Because a DEI hire is not someone who did not deserve the job who got it. That's just what they have claimed it is. And now folks are like, you can't call Jackie Robinson DEI hire. It's insulting. Guys, in Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson was the definition of a DEI hire. And that's why we need it. Was he awesome? Yes. Was he deserving? Yes. Was he blocked because of his race? Yes. And so it is not an insult. Now, this whole thing, it was the Department of Defense. It wasn't a DEI military, but set it aside. It is incumbent that we not cede ground and that we instead say, let's have the actual argument. And the actual argument is the reason DEI policies came to exist was not to elevate undeserving people. It was to make sure deserving people of all colors, creeds, genders, ethnicities had a shot.
While I don't always agree with Nick Wright on his sports takes, I think his explanation of DEI and relating it to the context of this situation was marvelous. I think he really explained the difference of giving the position to somebody who is underqualified versus giving the same opportunities to each person, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, appearance, whatever. I think he did a great job explaining that Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire, and that is why it is important. The color barrier would not have been broken without a DEI hire, but that does not mean that someone was underqualified. Jackie Robinson was a multi-sport athlete at both Pasadena College and UCLA. His worst sport was actually baseball, and he would have gone to the 1940 Olympics for track had it not been canceled. Between 1940 and 1944, he worked in a government agency as well as being drafted in 1942. This led him to not play baseball for 4 years, and after he got out of war, he became an athletic director at an HBCU in 1944. He entered the Negro Leagues in 1945, where he put up a .375 batting average, a .449 on-base percentage, 600 slugging for a 1.049 OPS. These numbers were dominant enough to get him a minor league invite to the Dodgers minor league team in Montreal, where he then led an average and on-base percentage in the minor leagues. In 1947, he was finally brought up to the Brooklyn Dodgers, and between 1949 and 1953, while in the majors, he led the league in R-WAR, which is a stat to predict the wins above a replacement level player for his position. In the majors, he put up a .329 average, a .430 on-base percentage, and a .505 slug for a .935 OPS. During this time, he amassed 41.6 WAR while winning the 1949 MVP. Of all time, since integration, he is still top 5 for average, on-base percentage, and slugging for second baseman. He is also still top 15 in MLB history with R-WAR per 150 games. Despite all these amazing stats and historic accomplishments, ESPN still ranks him just outside the top 35 baseball players of all time. It shouldn't have to be addressed how amazing of an athlete Jackie Robinson was, but with the conversations that go on around the sport, it's important to show these stats and explain why Jackie Robinson was not only an amazing baseball player, but a phenomenal athlete at every sport he played. Being one of the best players in the sport at this time came with a lot of criticism and racism from the fans. Being at the top of the game with all the eyes on you, it is no surprise that white people did not like Jackie Robinson being one of the best players in the league. It makes it even more impressive that he was able to put up these statistics while staying out of trouble despite the constant heckling and disrespect from fans. Jackie Robinson, since he was the first player to break the color barrier, was expected to be the model minority within the league. He was expected to take the criticism, be quiet, and be respectful without ever fighting back. While he did his best to, not cause any problems while he was in the majors, you can only imagine how hard it was for him with the constant obvious racism from those around him. For those that may not understand or may disagree with the standpoints about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, I think it's important that you listen to the African Americans that broke the color barrier and understand what they had to go through. I think another important person to listen to is Reggie Jackson, who was another African American baseball player who played about 20 years after Jackie Robinson and had to face very similar levels of racism, though he was much, much later.
Reggie, the baton has been passed for over a century here. We've been talking earlier about if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the three of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person, you think you won when you played here in Concord. I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they said, can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass, and you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
Reggie, I can't even imagine. It's awful you had to go through that, but appreciate you sharing the rawness and the honesty of it with our audience. I mean, really,
we love you, Reg.
Yeah. Thank you.
Quick history lesson right there.
That's a great history lesson. Reggie Jackson telling us all about it, preaching. Wow, that's unbelievable.
No matter how uncomfortable they are, I think it is vital that these conversations continue to be brought up not only by African Americans, but also by white people who are supporting them. Shortly after the link was removed from the Defense Department page, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who won the World Series last year, visited the White House to celebrate their victory. This was shortly after the link was removed, and keep in mind, the Los Angeles Dodgers were formerly the Brooklyn Dodgers, who Jackie Robinson played for. I found it a bit insensitive for not only the managers of the team, but the players and the organization to willfully and, without any pushback, just accept the love given by Donald Trump, although Donald Trump has spewed so much hate regarding DEI hires and Jackie Robinson, who is the most important person, not only in this franchise history, but MLB history. And I found it quite saddening that there was a lack of defense from the organization and the MLB at large. when it came to Donald Trump and his administration trying to get rid of the impact and the historical analysis of Jackie Robinson. And I think that trying to diminish his importance and hide his story is incredibly disrespectful, not only to him, but to all African Americans and any other race that had to fight for an equal seat at this table. I think the way that DEI has been talked about is getting a bit off topic, and I think the definition is getting lost. I think the people that misunderstand DEI need to really sit back and listen to the people that are talking. It takes a group, and it can't be a overnight fix, but I think if people give a little bit more empathy and listen a bit more closely, there can be some progress.